everyone, it's Miss Roxanne from the Shrewsbury Library, and I'm here to talk to you about graphic novels today. This is the graphic novel section. You might be misled by the fact it says older kids. When we renovated the library, we chose this area as a section that we would have books for older kids, but since we've been here a while, we have moved some things around. And so now this is our graphic novel section. I have a little sign here to help you out. And I just want to say that graphic novels, or the graphic novels that we have in this area, they're juvenile graphic novels. So on the spine label, and when you look in the catalog, it says J and then GN, and then usually the author's name. So these books in this area go from beginner reader section, actually, beginner reader level, to grades 5, 6, sometimes a little beyond. So don't be misled by the fact it says older kids, because we do have beginner reader books in here, and I'll show you those in a minute. So let's talk about graphic novels, and I don't want to get too educational or too much into the history of things. But a graphic novel is, it has the same components of a regular prose novel. It has the same literary elements. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has plot. It has the same structures. It has character development. But it's in a graphic form, which means a visual form, not to be confused with mature. And so you'll find text along with word balloons, sound effects, panels, and it's a typical same length as a novel. It has a narrative complexity. The other thing that I want to talk about, or I could show you an example of that actually. This is The Babysitter's Little Sister by Anne M. Martin. It's an adaptation based on a classic children's novel, which we do have in the regular chapter book area, and this one happens to be in graphic form. So if you're looking for a graphic novel tie-in to some classics, we also have, for example, A Wrinkle in Time. So if your child maybe won't want to get through The Wrinkle in Time in prose, we have the same in a graphic form. So these are some classics. Some of our popular, and you might recognize these, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dork Diaries, Big Nate. These are, some might consider them graphic novels, and there is some, a little bit of truth to that, but really they're illustrated novels, because if you can see, they don't have the same look as a comic book look. It's illustrations mixed in with text, but the hallmark of this is that the text and the pictures are interdependent. You need both of them to understand the story, for the comprehension of the story. So these actually are not in this graphic novel section. They're actually J for juvenile, and then the author's name usually in this section over here. So over here graphic novels, over here chapter books, and you'll find something like this there, something like Big Nate, Dork Diaries, and we do have an exception to that. Big Nate is an example of, I do believe it started off as a comic strip. So we have, in, just to confuse you, J. G. N. Pierce, and that's P-E-I-R-C-E. So this is over here, but the Big Nate That's all the compilation of his comics is over in this section. And we do have some other ones like that as well. For instance, Geronimo Stilton, which is an illustrated novel, very popular. We have graphic novel forms of that as well. So some of these, if you're interested, when we get back into the library, when we open up again and you can browse the shelves, you might want to be mindful of checking in this section for something like Big Nate, the author's, by the author's last name, and over in this section. Another illustrated novel that I would like to talk about is a special series by by Scholastic called Branches. These books are in the chapter book area in Juvenile fiction. They are, and here's a good example of one that is a comic book theme, Kung Pao Chicken, and these are leveled specifically with the guided reading level. So if you come into the library, on top of the shelves, we have the reading levels here. It's this particular series is LMNOP, and there's all different genres. So maybe you're interested in Missy's Super Duper Royal Deluxe, or you want owls. We have Owl Diaries. We have Kung Pao Chicken. We have the Dragon series. Let me find it over here. If you're into fantasy and dragons, there's Dragon Masters. And these are illustrated novels. They're, they look like that. I'll show you. This one's pretty heavy on the graphics, and it has definitely a more comic book look to it. I mentioned that we have, and these you'll be able to find over in the Juvenile chapter book section. They have a yellow round sticker that says Easy Reading in green print. You're going to find the same Easy Reader sticker in this section. You can see them here, here, if you just browse along. And these we put in here for either beginner reader or transitional readers. These are easy to read comics, and I have the Toon Books is the series. You can read this if next time you're in. This is also online, so you can look up all this whole series. It's the Tune Into Reading program. So if your child likes things that are more graphically oriented, it's called Tune Into Reading. They're Toon Books. They're award-winning books. The American Library Association recognizes them. They've different titles have won multiple awards. This book right here, and when you are looking, the books actually have levels. This is a level 1, easy to read, and so you don't necessarily have to stay just in the beginner reader section over there. You can also check out these Toon Books as well. One of the things I read when I was looking at what to say on this video is and I do want to stress that these, sometimes parents come in or other adults come in and they're concerned about the quality, the literary quality, and that's, as I'm reading more and more, that's just an outmoded way of thinking, but it does, it is important to say that you don't want to just read graphic novels and not read novels. It's not an either-or situation. It's something that should be done. Both things should be done. And of course, some of these series, we have a lot of them where there's multiple in the series, like that Babysitter Club, for instance. There's multiple, and obviously, the more you get to know the characters and get to know the style, comprehension will come easier as you stick with the same set. So we have a lot of that. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of that. We have series in the chapter book section, but we also have quite a few series in the graphic novel section as well. And like I said, there's online, you can find a lot of how to use graphic novels with your children. There's, parent guides, a guide to graphic novels, using graphic novels with children and teens, and this is that Toon book that I told you about. There's certainly a lot of things that you could do for some of you parents or grown-ups that are perhaps working at home with your children right now during the COVID crisis. So one more thing that I wanted to mention was we have another section of the library that has graphic books. This is the nonfiction section. It's back past the chapter books, and for some of the children that prefer or need something with more less words and more visual elements, we have things like this graphic library series. We also have science comics. So if you want to get the story of the history of, say, that like the Mayflower, it's in graphic form, but it has all the historical facts from of the story. So you'll be looking in the nonfiction section. It's arranged by topic, and you'll see a green with little speech bubbles graphic nonfiction sticker right there. And the same thing with the science. This is about the brain, and it is actual factual information that can be useful. And so for graphic novels are for anybody who's interested in them, but they are particularly useful for reluctant readers, struggling readers, English as a second language, English language learners, and children with special needs. So definitely, if you are interested and you want more information, you could email me, rstarkin@cwmars.org, or you can email any of the children's librarians at splkids@cwmars.org, or give us a call. We can help you put some of these books on hold for your child. Thank you. Hope that was helpful.